limits on the current. That's where we're at. Yeah. We're not following in the language that restricts transfers. I don't know if you're going to point out, I can come out with some transfers. It's all, but the biggest cities.
Oh, there he is. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Legal and Finance Committee meeting for July 2, 2025. We'll begin with the roll call and determination of quorum.
Beaverdorf. Here. Evans. Here. Maher.
Here.
Roseland.
Here.
Stroman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is adoption of the agenda. There's a motion by Roseland and a second by Beaverdorf to adopt the agenda. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is general public comment, and I have several speaker request forms. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. And I guess the first one I have is Kittrick Jeffries. Kid, I'll just remind you, you have 3 minutes to speak, and then we'll move on to the next one. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? There we
Yes,
go.
sir.
Well, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, my name's Kittrick Jeffries. I represent Puffy's Dispensaries here in town. I think the ask from me today is going to be pretty simple during public comment. I handed out Resolution 2024-079 that was passed by the City Council in October of 2024 regarding medical cannabis licensing. I think it's fair to say that what I'm going to ask isn't going to change the intent or the values of the resolution, but will allow South Dakotans the opportunity to conduct business without bureaucratic roadblocks. The section of the resolution that I've highlighted turns our control of our business over to our landlords when they know that they can charge whatever rent that they want and we can't transfer a license to a new location. The second to last paragraph on the document that I've handed out prevents businesses the opportunity to transfer not just location, but also the sale of a medical cannabis license. Now, I'm not up here today to specifically talk about the sale of a license. I know that there are some other licensees that will touch on that topic. However, we agree with the intent of the resolution because my company still has litigation with the South Dakota Department of Health. I'm happy to talk about that in further detail if called upon or asked questions of it, but I want to be crystal clear, just striking the language that talks about transfers. We are okay with the first sentence that talks about new licensing. Our landlords can hold us hostage upon the renewal of lease agreements and charge whatever they want, knowing that we cannot move locations. And if our building has any issues, such as a fire or if the roof collapses, it would almost be easier to open up at a new location instead of rebuilding that building from scratch. This has already been an issue in South Dakota. A cannabis establishment burned down by a gas leak in Brandon not too long ago, so this isn't unreasonable to say. But let's say our landlord doesn't want to rebuild the building. Then we would get stuck with the full bill with no insurance claim on a building that we don't own. My understanding is that there is a new council coming Monday, and I also understand that this committee would just calendar that item for the Monday council to take up. My ask would be to place it on the calendar as soon as possible so we can continue plans that are already in motion. The clock for 1 year for construction has started for us on our next license, which is permitted by ordinance. We only have 1 year to open our dispensaries for construction. I would just like a definitive answer at next week's council meeting on what our route or businesses would choose to go. Thank you, and that's my time.
Thank you. The next one I have is Emmett Riestroffer.
Good afternoon, Emmett Reistroffer, representing Genesis Farms. We're based in Box Elder, but we are also licensed with 2 medical cannabis dispensary locations here in Rapid City. And I don't want to repeat what Kittrick said. We have similar concerns, but different situations. That's the problem with the language in the resolution right now, is it really just ties our hands. Some of you might be familiar with our location at Bacon Park. When we started this whole process 3.5 years ago, we had no idea how many patients would be registered. So it's a smaller building. We were being smart business people and being conservative. And now 3 years later, we are going to outgrow that location and would like to find a more suitable location at some point in the future. Don't have any plans today, but we don't like having our hands tied by this ordinance. But more importantly, is just the issue of fairness. If you open a restaurant in Rapid City, a dental clinic, a hardware store, a pet store, you name it. Heck, let's even talk about other licensed businesses, bars, nightclubs, things like that with liquor licenses, casinos with gaming licenses. No other industry has this type of rule in place where you can't retire or exit out of the business. We just think, we should look at Sioux Falls is one example. From the get-go, they've allowed transfers. We have yet to see a transfer, so I don't think there's a race or anything nefarious going on. It's just discouraging when our hands are tied. And what happens if an owner dies or becomes unable to just do their role as an owner? People get older and have issues and want to retire and step away from their businesses. So there's a lot of different reasons. The landlord one, thankfully, I don't have that, but that sure is a kind of a scary thought of being at the mercy of a landlord when we've put so much time and energy into doing these businesses the right way. So we're just asking. And let me also make it clear, we are fine with the moratorium, the intent. I don't think I spoke out for or against it at the time, but we certainly think the 9 dispensaries right now is enough for the city of Rapid City. There's only 5 in Sioux Falls, and that seems to be enough there. So we're not saying repeal the whole thing and allow more stores to open. We're fine with the 9 stores. We want to keep doing business. We're just hoping to also see this get calendared so we can fix that language, follow what most of the other cities are doing, and just not have our hands tied any longer, I guess. That's my main point. So my time is up, and I'll be happy to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The rest of the speaker request forms appear to be about specific agenda items, so I'm going to move on in the agenda so that we can address those at the time that those particular items are brought up. So I'm going to move to consent items 1 through 15 and open public comment on consent items 1 through 15. And I don't believe I have any requests for that, for any of the consent items. And so we'll go to Finance Office to just kind of give us a summary of each of the items on 1 through 15.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 2 just includes several volunteers that we include for workmen's compensation insurance coverage purposes. They are volunteers, but by them being included in the minutes, they're covered by our policy. Item number 3 is our April sales tax report. I'm happy to note that April sales, general sales were up 0.71% compared to last year. Our trend line for the first 4 months is 0.4% higher than we had budgeted, so we're essentially right on budget. Our tourism sales in April were up substantially, up 5.12%. Just a note of caution, though, that really our major sales tax months now begin with the tourism season really in May, June, and July. But we are off to a good start for the community. Item number 4 is our May Treasury and General Fund update. In the report, you can see as of the end of May how the city's $235.8 million in current assets are invested. I would want to note that currently we did have $9.1 million in undesignated cash available in our general fund. I do want to note, though, that May is pretty much our high point, and so don't please plan on using $9.1 million for any new initiatives. That's kind of the high point, and then usually throughout the year it starts going down a bit from that point. Items number 5 and 6 are declaring some property surplus that we would donate to some of our neighboring communities. We would be donating 27 snowflake pole decorations to the town of Hermosa, and then 20 disc golf baskets to the town of Hot Springs. Item number 7 is a $175,000 grant from our CDBG division. They would be providing funds for an elevator rehab where there are 20 rent subsidized units at that facility. Item number 8 is to effectuate one of our TIF districts. It's a purchase that the city is making through TIF funds for a park as well as a future fire station. The total cost is $1.185 million. Item number 9 is to sign a loan payoff agreement for the same TIF that was contemplated and included in the TIF documents. The loan payoff would be $330,777.88. It's actually probably going to be slightly lower than that once we actually get to the final payoff. That would be in about a week. I would want to note, though, that the tax increment generated should be enough to fully refund the city by this November. Item number 10 is to sign the development agreement for tax increment district number 94. This is not a city financed tax increment finance district. This is going to be financed through a loan between the developer and a private institution. The total of that TIF is $2.5 million. And then finally, item number 11 is it's to assign the tax increment proceeds that the city receives for the Ennin tax increment finance district. The proceeds that the city would end up receiving would end up going to the Black Hills Community Bank, which is the bank that financed that particular TIF district. Are there any questions?
Motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Maher to approve 1 through 11. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. And I failed to close public comment, but it probably is a good deal because I missed one speaker request form. Is Brian Anderson here?
Hi, I'm Brian Anderson, and I run West River Farms in Rapid. As far as what Kit and Emmett were talking about, we're in kind of a predicament with running under a management agreement because of the moratorium, or parts of the moratorium that we would like lifted. We would like to do an asset sale from Greenlight to us on this particular dispensary, but we're locked in right now under a lease with the landlord, and they want us to sign another 5-year, and that location is not prime at all for this business, and so we would like to move it as well, but we are stuck and are not sure what to do with that. So I guess we're just looking for a little help on getting that lifted as well. So, and we have Greenlight's full support, Mike Green, and Greenlight Corporation's full support on that as well. So to complete the asset sale is our biggest thing, so hopefully you guys can take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any
Thanks.
comments? Thank you, sir. Now I'm going to close public comment, general public comment. And we're going to move on to information technology and Director Gilbert on item 12.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just a renewal of our Threat Locker service, which acts as an application whitelisting program and our endpoint protection for networking and other resources. So,
Thank you. Any questions? Motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Roseland to approve item 12. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're going to go to the fire department. Chief Culberson.
Thank you, Chair. This is asking to amend an agreement we have with First Do, which is our online platform software that does just about everything in our department, from training to scheduling and all of our records management. We want to make our training module more robust, and we found one of the modules that we're not going to use, so we're going to take that away and add to the training. So it adds about $1,500 to the overall contract.
Thank you, Chief. Motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Maher to approve. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll go to Community Development Director Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 14 is a request asking you to approve the demolition of a detached garage at 1215 West Boulevard. This property is in the Historic District, and it is actually a contributing structure. Based on procedure, they had to go through the Historic Preservation Commission as well as the state's Historic Committee, and they secured the determination that there was no feasible way that they could reconstruct this garage. It's in total disrepair, and that there would be no prudent alternative to the proposal. Once they secured that determination, the next step then is to come to council, and then you have the authority to allow for that garage to be removed and that the new garage be built. And they're working with us now to ensure that it does maintain characteristics specific to the historic district. And it would be our desire that you approve this request.
We'll go to Pat Roseland.
Thank you, Chair. I don't always agree with demolishing historic buildings and outbuildings in a historic district, but this one cannot be used for what it was intended for. It's too badly basically deteriorated over the years, and I feel like those who live in the historic district have the right to have a two-car garage if it fits in their neighborhood and fits in their site plan. So I would totally agree with the demolition permit and the owner's building a new garage in its place. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the last item that we have on the agenda today is our 2026-29 Transportation Improvement Program. We bring this to you every year through the MPO organization, and we call this our TIP plan. It's a 4-year priority list of financial plan for highway transit and intermodule projects. We are requesting that you approve the plan. If you'd like to know some specifics within the plan, Kip Harrington, our transportation coordinator, is in the audience today.
Okay, Mr. Harrington, would you want to address that for us, please?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So this is the draft tip. The final will come back in August. It's basically a listing of all the state transportation improvement projects as well as the city and county projects in the metropolitan planning area. The state ones are probably going to change quite a bit because this is the draft and they haven't had their statewide transportation improvement program meeting yet. So those meetings are coming up in a couple weeks. The first one is on Tuesday, July 15th at 1 p.m. And that one will be held both in person at the DOT Region Office at 2300 Eglin Street. Also will be held through a Zoom link virtually. And there will be a second opportunity on Thursday, July 17th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time to do the virtual meeting as well. So that's your chance to provide input on those big state projects throughout our region. Once they've had those STIP meetings, then they will put out a new list of projects depending on the outcome of that. And those will be incorporated into our final transportation improvement program, which we will bring forth in August. So I can go through some of the big projects if you'd like, but they're all listed in the program. And like I said, a lot of those big ones may change or be moved around in timeline. So we'll have more details in August on the final report.
Okay. Thank you, Kip. Anything from committee? There's a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Evans to approve 14 and 15. Or by Roseland. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the end of the consent calendar. Now we go to non-consent items 16 to 20, and I'm going to open public, 16 to 23, I'm going to open public comment and begin with D'Amico. Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your time. Also, thank you for your consideration. D'Amico Rodriguez with the Rapid City Sports Commission. We've met several times with everyone on the panel about the proposed sports complex, and there's 3 agenda items and adjacent a 4th agenda item for the sports complex that has been proposed. The hotel bid, obviously, we've been working with the city trying to incorporate a second hotel bid to generate about $20 million total in time towards the sports complex. Again, we've got the majority of the hotel owners in the region supporting the project. There is a stipulation that if the project cannot come to fruition, they're not in favor of the second hotel bid, just making that very apparent. Obviously, the second piece is the Catalyst District, TIF District as well. That will generate roughly $15 million towards the sports complex. So in total, about $35 million for the sports complex are 2 agenda items. The third is obviously the additional $5 million that the mayor got from unallocated vision funds. And at a radio interview yesterday, I mentioned this is not something new. For those of you that have been around and part of the vision fund process, there were times where Pauline found additional funds that were unallocated. Obviously, budgets were conservative, and there was additional funds available. So those 3 things would get us to about $40 million of our $55 million project. And I just ask for your support for those agenda items. Additionally, we want to thank the Lean family for their donation for the land for the sports complex. And if you'll notice, the 4th agenda item is support of that district or TIF district as well. All of these things work well together. There's other communities in the United States that have sports complex and as well as entertainment districts that feed off of each other, particularly in the winter months when we need the tourism dollars here as well. So with that, I'm just asking for your support, and I am always available for questions. And then, of course, I did send the information about some of the specifics for the sports complex as well. So thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ellie Formanek.
Hi, members of the committee. Thanks for having us here today. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'm Allie Formanek, CEO of Visit Rapid City. I'm here to express my strong support for the proposed TIF district, bid district, and vision fund reallocation to help fund the sports complex. This project is not just about tourism. It's really about investing in a shared community asset that will serve both our visitors and our residents as well. So the proposed facility, although the plans aren't finalized yet, I know they'll be designed with flexible, high-quality spaces that support both community leagues and year-round recreational access for our local families here in Rapid City. At the same time, this complex really positions Rapid City to compete for the growing market share of regional and national sports tourism tournaments. Sports tourism is one of the fastest growing segments in the travel industry, so this has really been a priority for us in the last few years. As you all know, families traveling for sporting tournaments and youth championships, it drives so much economic impact. It fills our hotel rooms, puts people in our restaurants, and they spend money in our local businesses. So this is a smart, targeted way to invest in our future while making sure that the people who live here benefit every step of the way as well. So thank you for your leadership always and for considering this opportunity.
Thank you. Next, I have Joel Brannon.
I wasn't going to speak. If there was any questions on the Liberty Land project, I'll just let you know I'm here to answer.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. And the last one I have, I think, is on item 23, so that's William Wagner.
Good afternoon, board. How y'all doing? I was going to ask y'all one question. Are y'all officers, employees, or contractors of the state? But I read number 23 and it says y'all are employees. I know y'all heard me say this a few times. Under Article 12, subsection 3, expenditures and contracts, officers, employees, and contractors that are in active contracts cannot take money from or give money to their active contract. And if they do, they nulled and voided it. And when you, Stroman, talking about legislator, they say only the legislator could change the rate or the income of the contract of the employee, officer, or contractor if we were in insurrection or in war. So you misled the people some last meeting. So I think y'all should wait and let's do the due process right. Y'all voted in for the next people to follow follow suit of the mayor or any one of y'all. And if y'all do decide to do this raise for these employees, y'all know and voided y'all contract. And tomorrow I do have a meeting with Rich, y'all fidelity bond or surety bond guy, to find out the stipulations on all this. And I will do a formal complaint. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the end of general public comment. So I'm going to close, or excuse me, public comment on non-consent items. I'm going to close public comment. And then go to Finance Office for number 16, which is second reading and recommendation of ordinance number 6673, an ordinance regarding supplemental appropriation number 2 for 2025. Director Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item contains several independent changes. The vast majority of the items are carry forward for enterprise fund-related capital projects that began last year, and the projects were not completed, and so the projects are ongoing to the current budget year. So that's just asking to move the budgeted authority from 2024 into 2025. In addition, there is a request for an additional $1.8 million for the North Rapid City PD precinct that is currently under contract, and then also reallocating some funds from one line item to another to proceed with the LED conversion project that our traffic division is doing for our streetlights. Are there any questions?
There's a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Maher to approve. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, item 17, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 6676, an ordinance amending the Rapid City Municipal Code to repeal Chapter 2.49 relating to the Community Investment Committee. And we'll go back to Director Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item would make a change to try to streamline our process when the city proceeds with providing grants to CDBG or out of the city's CDBG allocation. The city receives less than $500,000 annually from the CDBG program. With that, there's always a significant number of requests that come in. Usually it's from very similar entities as to who have received that in the past. This is a process that takes a tremendous amount of staff time. It's also a tremendous amount of effort that the grantees that are requesting funds have to go through this really lengthy process. And then it's reviewed several times by the Citizens Committee. They do a fantastic job, but the reality is there's not an awful lot of funds for them to review overall. So we're trying to look to streamline it so that we're not using quite as much staff time as well as citizen time, so that we can make allocations of those very limited funds that align with the council's priorities, but doing so in a more efficient manner.
Go to Bill Evans.
Yeah, I just want to comment that after serving on that particular committee for a couple of years, although not recently, there is no more dollars scrutinized by this city than the ones that go through that particular fund, and it's almost crazy how much scrutiny they receive. And I think if we applied that same set of criteria to the overall budget, we probably save $100 million. So I think we should go ahead and approve this. Thank you.
It's a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Roseland to approve. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next is item 18, resolution number 2025-077, a resolution amending the 5-year plan of projects and programs to be funded from the vision account by increasing the amount allocated to civic improvements by $5 million. And we'll go to Director Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As was brought up during the public comment, when we closed out the previous round of vision funds, the total amount of sales tax that were collected did exceed the total amount of allocations that were provided in the previous round. And so with that, the recommendation is to proceed with allocating an additional $5 million that would not affect any of the projects that received an allocation during the previous round or any of the projects that received an allocation during this current round. The Citizens Committee that reviewed the projects for this recommendation, they did state that they wish that there was additional money because there were some very important projects, including the proposed field house project in North Rapid City. And so with that, when we were looking through some of the funds that were available, the reality is there are some funds that would be made available or that could be made available to provide kind of the foundation gift for that. And then there's some other sources, hopefully, to provide some of the funding necessary to actually get that dream into reality. With that being said, if the council does proceed with this resolution, I am working with Director Beegler as well to come up with kind of the time frame for the projects over the next 5 years. We plan on presenting that to you in the very near future. The goal is, of course, to get the citizen projects done as quickly as possible, and also to ensure that if the council does proceed with the sports field house, that we also get that moving as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Daniel. Go to Bill Evans.
And once again, you're going to get tired of this because I've been saying the same thing for 2 years. I'm going to continue to oppose any kind of this playing around with vision funds and making it a fun money fund for people and their pet projects. It's not what the citizens had in mind, and we just continue to do that. And I will be in opposition to every one of these changes when we're spending vision funds in a way that the citizens did not vote for. So I will vote against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Maher.
Yeah, I will, can I go ahead and make the motion and then keep the floor?
If you get a second, yeah.
Second. I'd like to make the motion to approve this $5 million to go towards the sports complex.
Okay, so there's a motion by Maher and a second by Bieberdorf.
I just say that this.
Let's take a. Okay, go ahead.
Oh.
You can retain the floor.
I just want to make the comment that a lot of thought and a lot of people involved in this process, and it's just exciting to see this come about and be up for a vote. And I'm glad, and like Daniel said earlier, the tax revenue is coming in higher than our projections, so hopefully we can continue to grow the vision fund and do other projects, but I will definitely be voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Josh Bieberdorf.
Yeah, I would speak in support of it as well. I think it's all these are dominoes that are on here that have to happen, and I agree with Alderman Maher in the fact that a lot of time behind the scenes has gone towards this, and the revenue that's going to generate over the next 10 or 15 years is going to be outstanding. It's going to more than increase the amount of money for our next vision fund round, so I'm in support of it as well.
I'd just like to make a comment. And you're right, there's been a lot of work that's gone into this over years, and it's kind of all coming together. But I think it's important to stress what Director Ainsley stated and was repeated by Alderman Maher, that this money wasn't like stashed or something like that. It was, can you go back through that, Daniel? The obvious question was, why wasn't that money out there when we did the allocations for the Vision Fund? So would you address that again, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. When the Round 7 Vision Fund was adopted, at that time the city was anticipating, I believe it was just over a 2% annual increase in sales tax. And they made the award distributions based on that assumption. And as we all know, total sales tax increased, or total sales within the city increased significantly, especially in 2021. That year, sales were greatly higher. Admittedly, an awful lot of that was because of the inflation, but also tourism throughout the community increased substantially in 2020 as well as 2021, and we've continued that upward growth. And so with that, more sales occurred than what were anticipated when the Round 7 Vision Fund was adopted. We finalized that round, and we began discussions of what would happen with Round 8 before we had actually finished the collections in Round 7. And so all we did when we established the Round 8 Vision Fund was truly look at the total amount of sales tax that we anticipate receiving during the 5 years in Round 8, which is 2025 through 2029. So with that, we just looked at what total sales had occurred in 2024, and then projected, I think it's about a 2.2% annual increase for that 5-year period. And so that process began before we were even closed out the year before. And also that's a conservative approach consistent with how the city has run all of these rounds of vision funds. And so looking at what the previous excess collections were in the Round 7, it was brought forward to say perhaps some of those funds should be used for a project that the Citizens Committee supported, and there seems to be a lot of community support for.
Thank you. We'll go back to Bill Evans.
I'm just going to make the comment that there's been several projects that over the years, even 10 to 15 years, that have not been funded because of lack of money. And yet it's already predetermined kind of where this extra money is going to go. I mean, for instance, why aren't we going back and say, well, now we have, counting the money you've got, $6 million, we could actually build an enclosed swim center. This bothers me a lot, that some people are just dismissed because they're not part of the current social club or whatever it is that's determining how our tax dollars are being spent. So I don't like it. And if I were a citizen out there that had fought for 10 or 15 years for some of these projects, I'd be really ticked off, because I'm ticked off now thinking about it. Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion on the floor is to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Next item is number 19, resolution number 2025-079, a resolution of intent to establish the Business Improvement District 2. And we'll go back to Director Ainsley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The item before you has been an item that the Visit Rapid City, as well as the Sports Commission, and also the hotel, the existing hotel bid has been discussing for quite some time. Currently, Rapid City, similar to most communities in the state, has an existing $2 per occupied night fee that is assessed for every hotel room in the city. So if you're a hotel that have more than 50 rooms, if you do rent out a room for a night, on top of the bill, there's an additional $2 fee. We are able to have additional fees on top of that if the council deems it's necessary, and also if it's recommended by the hotel owners. In this instance, the hotel owners, looking at the substantial economic impact that would come from an indoor field house, they are recommending, or they are asking to add an additional fee to these hotel nights. It would be an additional $2 fee, with the stipulation that all of the funds be used either to retire debt that would be incurred to construct the field house, or for ongoing operations of the field house, or for marketing and other costs associated with tournaments and other sporting events. I think it's important to note that this would not be for general operations of Visit Rapid City or for the city as a whole or anything else like that. It's truly meant to ensure that the dream of the indoor field house actually becomes a reality, and also to make sure that the long-term operations of the field house are not an additional draw upon the general fund. So this is being designed to ensure that once the field house actually comes into operations, that it's not an additional burden on the taxpayers of Rapid City. Instead, what it's designed to do is to add a significant amenity for the community, for families, for children, as well as for elderly, so that during inclement weather, they're able to still be able to be active, and also to ensure that there's additional activities and events that draw in more tourists to our community, especially during the winter season, which is why the hotels are bringing this forward, saying that they want to increase the desirability of Rapid City so that more and more people and sporting tournaments and everything else come to our community, because they know in the end it's also going to increase their bottom line. This, I think it's important to note, is the hotel owners stepping forward, coming up with a financing plan to help with the capital costs of the construction of it. We anticipate that it would raise approximately $15 million, but also assist in the ongoing operational costs of it. Again, it's important to note that it will not, it will defer any costs of the operations of the field house, so that that does not become a cost that is borne by the general fund or by any of the other city existing city funds. If the council does adopt this resolution of intent, we will be sending this resolution out to every hotel owner within the city, and it would only be applicable to hotels that have 55 rooms or more. We would send this notice out to everyone, and we would also, in that notice, make sure that the hotel owners know of the actual date of the public hearing that the council would have. It would be in August. I apologize, I don't remember the exact date, but there would be a public hearing where you'd be able to hear from interested parties, and then after which we would be asking the city council to make a determination on whether or not to adopt the second hotel bid. In addition, I think it's important to note that we would not be the only community in the state that has more than one hotel bid. In fact, Deadwood has multiple, I forget the number, but I know it's more than 5 hotel bids. And quite often these hotel bids are used, whether it's for civic centers or for sporting facilities, other things like that. The idea is that these bids help create a capital fund, an operational fund that's necessary to create facilities that are able to increase tourism in a community. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Daniel. I would note that the resolution says that August 18th is the hearing date. I will go to Councilman Maher.
Well, I just wanted to add that the great thing about this bid is it's really being paid for by visitors and tourists and not the local taxpayer, unless you're staying in a hotel. But so, and when somebody rents a room, they don't look at what the tax is going to be on that room. They just look at the nightly rate. So this is kind of a painless way to help generate $15 million for the sports complex. Thank you.
And next we'll go to Bill Evans.
Well, the same old song and dance coming from me. I just got back from a week in Chicago. I paid a tax. I didn't go to a single sporting event. I did go to museums and concerts, and a couple plays. I see Alderman Pettigrew out there. He just spent 2 weeks in Paris. How many sporting events did you go to? See, this whole thing is so short-sighted from an overall perspective of what this city is about. For every $1 that is spent here because people come to a sporting event, I bet there's 50 spent by people that come for cultural facilities like Mount Rushmore, the Indian culture, the hills, the parks, the everything. Now, I would be totally in support of something that funded all of these things because that makes sense. But again, it goes to this very specific thing, and I love sporting things, don't get me wrong. I still have my Cornhusker season tickets I've had since 1979. That's not the point. I go to the baseball World Series in Omaha. That's not the point. The point is we need to be holistic in our thinking. There's more to life than just sporting facilities. And we have other things that are having a hard time being funded in this town. And if we're going to be a destination, we need to be a real destination for everything that people are interested in. Now, as far as I'm concerned, taxing, this is a good idea. Ron Bach and I talked about this 5 years ago. And he came back from a big trip to Europe thinking, you know, we really got to figure out a way to make people that come to town help pay for this stuff. I'm not opposed to the idea of the tax. I'm opposed to the way it's being used. So that's, again, my spiel. I would support anything that was more holistic. I just have a problem with, you know, it all being dedicated to one particular thing. I think it's short-sighted. I think we need to think bigger, more holistic, and support all the people. I'm pretty sure if this went to a public vote, they would vote it down. Pretty sure. Because right now, I think 1/2 of 1 of the cents is going to pay off the Civic Center. Is that correct? And that 2-cent sales tax that we currently have? Isn't that correct? I'm just asking a question.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Civic Center bond is being paid off through the CIP, or actually through the Vision Fund, and so that's paid out of the. They probably get about 16 to 18% of the total sales tax collections of the city.
Yeah, I believe it was when we voted on it several years ago. It was like 1/2 of the Vision Fund money for 30 years to go for what is basically considered a sporting venue. And now we can't use that money for anything else. I think we're in year what now? Year 6 or 7. And so I don't like to see us putting things in place that commit us to something that may not work. Now, the reality is we don't have, I know we have jealousy with Sioux Falls and the Pentagon and all that other stuff. I've been to all the facilities, that's great. But the reality is for us, how many Division I schools are there within 300 miles of Sioux Falls? Let's count them. USD, SESU, NDSU, UND, the University of Minnesota, Mankato State, Creighton, Nebraska, the University of Iowa, and Iowa State. You know how many there are within 300 miles of Rapid City? Zippo. The nearest one is at Fort Collins. So I don't know if we're ever going to get the kind of thing we're hoping for here, because I know this from teaching in the schools for 40 years. It's twice as far from Sioux Falls to Rapid City as it is from Rapid City to Sioux Falls. That's the reason they don't want to schedule their sports teams. And so I wonder if this isn't just a pipe dream that's never going to be realized. That's the end of my speech. Sorry.
Thank you. And then last I checked, they were having other events at the Summit Arena too, Bill. I'll make that comment. We got a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Maher. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Next item is item number 20. Resolution number 2025-069, a resolution creating Rapid City Destination District Tax Increment Financing District. And we'll go back to Director Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to get back, it's 8% of the total sales tax goes to repay the monument debt. With that being said, for this item, we have our TIF planner here, Mike Dugan, that'll be giving a presentation regarding the Destination District Tax Increment Finance District.
Apologize for that. Mike Digman with Finance. I have a presentation this afternoon. It is a proposed new tax increment financing district called the Rapid City Destination District. The project details are for a historic theme, amusement park with interactive attractions, lifestyle center, retail, dining, entertainment uses, lodging, and conference facilities. In housing, there's a housing component to this with community serving retail. There'll be 65,000 square feet dedicated to entertainment venues, 25,000 to retail, 20,000 to dining. The actual commercial entertainment zone will be approximately 38.61 developed acres. There is room to almost double the size of this amusement park portion parcel, just under 35 acres available for future expansion. I want to note that that future proposed expansion part is not budgeted in the proposed payback, so that's not included. If that was to develop in the future, that would just additional income that wasn't accounted for to pay back this district sooner. Residential development portion of about approximately 130 acres, and this TIF is projected to be classified as economic development. Project details, TIF request of $125 million, of that financing costs of just over $54 million, and the other large component is discretionary costs and grants that will be go towards a commercial entertainment zone portion of $46.5 million. This is the proposed district boundary. This parcel right here, just north of East Mile Drive, that is proposed for the commercial entertainment district. It would be this portion, this half of the parcel would be the commercial entertainment zone. This half of the parcel right here would be for future development where it could almost double in size. These parcels up here would be the residential district, multifamily districts, and commercial retail component of this as well. Here we'll talk about in the next TIF application, but this would be the parcel used for the proposed sports complex. So that would be across 143rd Avenue, future 143rd Avenue from each other. Then also it's important to note these parcels down here in the southeastern portion of this boundary are applicant owned as well. Those can be used as future development as well. The increment generated from that isn't accounted for either in the repayment of this. So if those two parcels were to be developed, that would go to further quicker the repayment of this district. Major street plans, so East Mile Drive just runs south of this, which is a principal arterial. A component of this district is putting in Tisch Boulevard. Currently, Tisch Boulevard ends at the Rapid City Fire Station. That would be put into Seeger Drive. Here would make that connection. That's currently a gravel road. A component of this would be to, if the traffic study warrants that's being completed and finalized currently, widen Seeger Drive from this intersection of the future 143rd to where North Lacrosse Street ends currently, widen that from 3 to 5 acres. So a component of this that we'll speak about too as well is when the applicant had initially sent this application, as this residential development, as this is developed and platted, this section of North Lacrosse Street would be required to be put in. City staff met internally and discussed this and thought it was better to allocate those funds to Tisch Boulevard, as this will be another access point to have this completed to a potential sports complex or a potential amusement park and residential component. This parcel right here is in the county. It is not included in the boundary, and it's not applicant owned. So this section right here, North Lacrosse Street ends at the intersection of Seeger Drive here. This would not be in, so this piece of North Lacrosse there'd be no way to access it. So it'd be a better thought process to put in Tisch Boulevard. This is the total list, the project costs. There is a city component of this to put in that extension of Tisch Boulevard. A downstream sanitary sewer connection, and then the widening of 143rd north of Seeger, and the widening of Seeger Drive from 3 to 5 lanes if the traffic study warrants that. And then with the TIF grant funds, the public components, the developer responsible for contingency and administrative key costs, which is $25,000 to the city, $15,000 to the county, is a total of just over $125 million. These are just more in detail of the city responsibility. The city will be responsible to put these in. The city will receive a percentage of that increment coming in, just under 13.5% is for repayment for those public infrastructure components. And then city would be responsible to put in that section that's platted of North Lacrosse Street in approximately 5 years. This is the development. So here would be the extension of Tisch Boulevard. This would be widening of Seeger Drive from 3 to 5 lanes. A component of this in the sports complex, the Catalyst District TIF would be put in 143rd Avenue in a signal at this intersection of Seeger and 143rd, and then East Mall Drive in 143rd. And as you can see here, this section of North Lacrosse, as there's no development, it's not included in the boundary, it is part of the county. This section would not be put in, so it wouldn't make this complete connection to North Lacrosse. That's the reason for not putting that in now. The commercial entertainment zone components, these would be the responsibility of the developer to put in. We'll talk in a future upcoming slide about the discretionary costs and grants. That number is a grant, and it will be used for the commercial and entertainment zone primarily. Those funds will be heavily monitored by city staff. As TIFs work, the developer is responsible for those costs up front. So the developer makes these improvements, puts the private infrastructure needed, and then based on certification, it can be repaid back by the property taxes it generates. So the city will monitor that construction as far as inspections and also collecting those invoices. And the increment won't be released that's generated from this until it's certified and progress is made. This is up close of the infrastructure for the commercial entertainment zone. There is sanitary sewer is the green that runs down through the middle of the park, and then out here around the spine of the facility, which the parking is the water line and a walking path. So this is where the majority of those funds will be spent for the private infrastructure. The city doesn't want to have any responsibility for maintaining any landscaping, any snow removal, or anything like that. That's where the need for the grant, that'll be responsibility to the developer to maintain all of the private infrastructure, the landscaping of this development. For the residential component just north of the commercial entertainment zone is approximately 130 acres. This will be a mix of single-family residential, multifamily, commercial retail in there. The design will be to match the theme of the commercial entertainment zone of the amusement park. Those themes will match to make it to where the feel is you're not leaving one area to go into another area. The TIF boundary, the TIF boundary is estimated at a base value of just over $8 million. So if this was to be approved by City Council next week, I would work with the state and the county to have that base value certified. So if that's certified at that amount, those funds, that sets the baseline. So the county and the city would still maintain what those taxes coming in each year based upon that certified base value. Any increment that goes on top of that as the amusement park develops, the city and county would lose that increment but keep that baseline. With the understanding of those parcels that are going to be developed that are applicant owned currently have their payland, I think there's cows out there, undeveloped, of just over $300,000. And the estimate at year 20 is the value of that property is $585 million. So with this being an economic TIF, the school district by a statewide formula, they will continue to receive that increment that's generated off that. And so the school district would continue to be made whole. The city and county would be made whole as far as up to that baseline certified base value. The increment, the city and county would not receive, with the understanding when this does pay in full, it's a much higher valuation in year 15 and 20 than it was how it sits currently today. The need for TIF, according to the applicant, is there's a lot of public infrastructure that'll be a part of of this proposed district and the next proposed district that we'll discuss as far as putting in 143rd, traffic signals, Tisch Boulevard, North Lacrosse. There's a lot of public infrastructure that's costly to put these in. These potentially, not in 2025, but in future years, could become CIP projects where the city would be responsible for putting these projects in, or especially Tisch Boulevard in future years. So this is a way to have the increment generated from this amusement park pay for those public infrastructures that would be a responsibility for the city in future years. This is a total sources and uses. So the total sources and uses to put in the public and private infrastructure is just over 171 million, with 125 million of that being put in, or is the TIF request that we're seeing or discussing right now. The rest will be coming from the developer to get to the $171 million amount. The pro forma, so as I stated, the certified base value is anticipated to be just above $8 million. You can kind of see that over in this column, these two columns here. These equal a little over 10. This right here, this parcel 18, is the fire station. So that doesn't count as far as there's going to be no increment generated from that fire station. But as you can see in years 27, 28, 29, and 30, that's going to be the substantial construction of this amusement park and the residential component. After that is anticipated to be completed in 2030, 2031. The applicant just put a flat 3% appreciation out throughout the years to get to the 20 years of 2025 or 2045 to get to that cumulative total of just under 600 million. Just want to note again, there are undeveloped parcels that could double the size of this amusement park. There are undeveloped parcels in the southeastern portion of this boundary that could be developed. They're not accounted for in here that would, if they are developed, would account for additional increment that would pay back this district faster. This is the projected tax increment income over the course of 20 years to get to the $125 million. This district is anticipated as it sits and proposed today without the future development of those undeveloped parcels would pay off in approximately 20 years. But this would be the anticipated increment coming in, which is substantially more than as it sits today of these undeveloped parcels. So this would be a great economic driver, not on the property tax side, but the sales tax side, that yes, the city and county today, if this was approved at city council, are going to lose out on this until this pays off in full, with the understanding it's going to be more than made whole in future years. 1 year alone would pay out the, what it's currently generating today. Amortization schedule, it is anticipated to take the full 20 years as it is proposed today. The certification, so on the grant side of this, once again, the developer puts their funds in first. The city then will collect the invoices on this, monitor the project, and it's just going to go as certified as the development progresses. So they have to show substantial completion of the project, of buildings, submit a request for certification, itemized cost breakdowns that are reviewed by city staff, have the temporary certificate of occupancy on these anchor tenants and the infrastructure and the retail side of this. And then they'll be reimbursed if the certification is approved on each phase up to 86.6% of that increment that's coming in. So no funds are released to repay back the developer's portion of the funds that they put in up front until it's certified by the city, and these are the requirements that need to be met in order for the city to do so. The overall site plan, so once again, the commercial entertainment zone, this would be multifamily, commercial retail, dining, residential component. This area can be future expansion of the amusement park. And then down here, again, this could be future expansion of Liberty Land components. This is a picture of looking out on Liberty Land. This would be the intersection of Seeger Drive and the proposed future 143rd. This would be looking south towards Fleet Farms. This would be in the proposed next district of extending 143rd. This is Tisch Boulevard. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see, but the Tisch Boulevard ends right here. This is the Rapid City Fire Station here. This would put this connection in all the way to Seeger Drive. And this is where North La Crosse Street currently ends. This would be looking out on the residential and commercial entertainment zone districts. Some artist renderings of the proposed project. Development schedule anticipated probably to start, if approved, in the spring of 2026. There is a possibility, if this is approved by council next week, that this could move forward with the grading aspect of the commercial entertainment zone later this year, with the substantial completion ending in 2020 or 2030 and 2031 with the residential components. And I just have to end here just some economic impact. Visit Rapid City helped me with some of these numbers, and then some statewide data on TIFs for 2024. So in 2024, there was $504 million of visitor spending into Rapid City. It accounted for just over 7,600 jobs, tourism did, and $53.7 million in state and local taxes were collected because of visitor spending. So it's been a steady increase in total visitor spending. In 2020, the COVID years up to today, there's been a gradual increase in popularity in visiting Rapid City in the Black Hills. Visitor volume has just been under 4 billion since 2021 to date. With the amusement park, it's anticipated, that this will bring more visitors to Rapid City to visit this, but not only that, for the existing visitors that were coming to Rapid City, to the hills, to visit Custer, to visit Hill City, Keystone, Mount Rushmore, maybe they could stay in Rapid another day or two, which would help out the entire local economy from hotel, dining, retail. I just have a few slides of 2024 TIF data for South Dakota, the state of South Dakota. In 2024, there was 261 active TIF districts. In 2024, Rapid City accounted for 16 of those districts. The top 10 counties, Pennington County here, and then some of the other districts with a larger TIF portfolio. In 2024, there were 75 either cities or counties with at least one active TID district. I highlighted in yellow the municipalities that had over 10. So with Aberdeen on the column here with 26 in their population, Rapid City was 16 active in 2024, Sturgis and Sioux Falls, and then Watertown, Mitchell, and then Yankton. And then Pennington County did have 3 active TIFs in 2024. Just an interesting slide for reference, the asset value in 2024 of these districts. The economic was just under $2.8 million, the valuation for the economic TIF districts throughout the state. In just some districts, some economic-driven districts throughout the state, this particular one in Clark County was expansion for a cheese plant. This one was in Chamberlain to bring in some retail shopping. This one in Hamlin County to expand their plant facility for some infrastructure that provided some more employment opportunities. Brown County for a beef packing plant that provided more economic and driven employment opportunities. City of T, they used for economic growth for an indoor activity center. And then lastly here in Spearfish, they put in some recreation, housing, gas station, and a new golf course using TIF funds. I'll end here with the active TIF districts. 2024, as I stated, had 16 active. There was 2 approved in May. So the city of Rapid City currently has 18 active TIF districts. To your far column is the breakdown of what those classifications are. So currently we're at 1.6% of our total valuation. We're allowed by state statute at 10% of our valuation, so we're far under. Adding this valuation would put us, if this was to go through and approved by city council, would put us at 1.66%, which goes off the certified base valuation, not the project costs. So the city, as it sits right now, if this was approved, would still have approximately 850 million of certified base valuation to use for future projects. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Over to Kevin Maher.
Yeah, well, this is more of a comment. Thanks, Mike. The second time I've seen this presentation, and it'd probably help if I watch it again. It's very good. Thank you. My comment is, you can see that these 4 agenda items are kind of tied together. And one of the things that I think I asked you was this Liberty Land TIF does not provide any funding for the sports complex. However, the developers donating the land for the sports complex, they live at 22 acres. So that the valuation of that donation is probably about $5 or $6 million, and that's going to be appraised soon. So why are these all tied together? If Liberty Land starts doing their infrastructure and completes those roads, puts in the sewer and water, we're basically, Liberty Land is putting the infrastructure in that will benefit the sports complex. And I just thought it's important that we all know that. Thank you.
There's a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Roseland to approve. All in favor? Bill, coming in late? Okay.
You know, I keep hearing about this amusement park, and perhaps I'm just not privy to the around the table discussions where people see what exactly is this amusement park going to be? Liberty Land, is it, there's a much used phrase, a word now that has certain connotations. A lot of them politicized. Is this going to be a place where only certain people are welcome? I mean, I don't know anything about this amusement park. I do know that the whole idea of amusement parks is under threat right now. Six Flags is closing 2 of them. They're closing Hurricane Harbor in Maryland, which has been open for like 90 years. They're closing the Great America one outside Santa Clara, which has got a 12 million person population base. It can't make it there. They've been open for 50 years. What is this going to be such a big draw that it's actually going to produce? As far as I have no idea what it's going to be. Can you explain any of that?
Sure, it is a historic.
What's that? Oh, I guess Vicki wants to answer that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a fair comment, and I've heard another councilman refer to this exclusively as an amusement park. And that's not the way that we stood this up. If you recall, it's been a while ago, we brought before you a zoning document that was created specific for this acreage. And there's a resort village and an entertainment village that's being now identified as a part of this TIF. Within that entertainment village, there is a component that is amusement, some indoor, some outdoor. But there's cultural exchange areas, there's a convention center, there's a 5-star hotel. There's an indoor world-class mountain climbing facility that may be coming forward as a part of this. And so while it does have similar high-quality design that we would see at a Six Flags or a Disneyland, it does not follow the imagery and footprint of that. From our preliminary views of this, they really want to capture the essence of what makes Rapid City special. From our Native American community to Ellsworth Air Force Base, to the fact that this was an area where trains and mining was important, all of that is going to be incorporated into this with an essence of entertainment mixed with it. So I think that when we start seeing the final design and we look at those building permits, sometimes it'll be a conditional use permit that will go before the Planning Commission, we'll get more detail on it. But I admit we've not clarified before. We've let it ride that, we're selling this as an amusement center. But when we go back and look at the overall zoning document, it's much more than that.
Another question, since I've got you on the line here. I'm looking at this $500 million valuation that's being proposed. A lot of that's probably residential, right? What would make anyone think that that particular area of land, and I know it pretty well, I even know the area that's not included because I've walked around that a couple years ago, is going to attract the kind of buyers that would want to build expensive houses there. They don't have the views that they have if they even went, 3 miles farther north. I just find the whole thing a little bit speculative without any really basis for the speculation. So again, I'm suspect. I'm not necessarily opposed to all of this, but I do think it's a bit unfair and disingenuous to be doing this the week before new council people come on when they haven't had a chance to do any research on it. And I don't know why we're kind of rushing this through like they're doing the big bill in Congress and nobody really knows what they're voting on. So I wish we would slow down on some of these things before we commit the city to a path that's going to head us toward, insolvency. Frankly, it worries me. We just seem to be doing too much too fast, and people really don't know what they're getting into. So I would say we put the brakes on this, and we don't do it yet until we really find out what's going on. And everybody on the council, including the new members, has a better chance to really understand what's going on. That's my comment. So I'm not going to support any of this till I'm really sure of what's happening. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Vic.
if I might, in reference to the concerns of whether or not this area would support the high-end residential that it would take to pay off this TIF, the applicants took that into consideration. And so the original plan that was proposed was going to be more high-end homes up and down. And they've changed that plan. There's going to be workforce housing in this. A lot of those that are going to work within the facility potentially could live within the very same area. It will lend itself to some degree to tourism, and that there might be timeshare and resort type housing that would be specific, where if someone wants to come and they're taking part in the facility known as the entertainment area or the sporting complex across the street, they've got housing options so close to them, and these that are some that they can rent on a short-term, long-term basis. So you're right. I think that even their original plans have taken the reality check based on the location. It might not be all high-end homes. And so that's been factored into this. We challenged them, they looked at it, they adjusted their numbers, and I think that we're seeing that does show that even though it will take the full 20 years, it will pay off.
So we're no longer trying to put the brakes on short-term rentals and stuff. We're actually kind of endorsing that now. Because I thought the policy was to put brakes to that sort of thing. I'm confused by the whole thing.
Mr. Chair, that's also a fair comment. We will be bringing forward in the next 60 days a short-term rental regulation. But in this concept, this is resort village, so there will be more timeshare and that type of rental availability, so that the whole area of one, more like a hotel than it would be putting a vacation home into a residential street. But I appreciate the comment, that's fair. This will be designed somewhat different than that.
Thank you. Got a motion by Maher. Okay. It's already motion. Okay, we've got a motion to approve. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Yay.
Motion carries. We're on to item number 21, resolution number 2025-070. A resolution approving the project plan for the Rapid City Destination District Tax Increment Financing District. Mr. Ainsley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our TIF planner, Mike Dugan, is going to provide, or actually, this is just the project plan for the TIF district that you've already, that you recommended approval to the council. It contains particulars of what Mike has already reviewed. Are there any questions specifically for Mike or I?
The reason that these are broken out into, and it's new, something new, I guess it's been done in the past, but not recently, is when these go through planning commission, they're separate out because the planning commission can approve the district. So that can move forward to city council, or legal finance and city council, but they can deny the project plan. But then the TIF doesn't die in its entirety, so that the project plan can be brought still forward to planning commission if there's any modifications or changes. So, but if they were both denied, it dies at planning commission, but it doesn't die if the district is approved and the project plan isn't.
Thank you. So this is for the plan itself?
Yep, the first.
We've
yep.
already did the district, we've already approved the district.
Correct.
And this is for the plan.
Correct.
There's a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Roseland to approve. All in favor? All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Next item, number 22, is resolution number 2025-071, a resolution creating Rapid City Catalyst District Tax Increment Financing District. And this is to just
This is just
create the district,
Correct.
correct? We're not talking about the plan at this point. Okay.
Second.
Do you need to present on this if we're not talking about the plan, or we're just?
This is just to slowly set the district boundaries. If you want me to proceed with the presentation, I sure can, but or answer any questions.
Do we have any questions?
The project plan would come hopefully in the next 3 to 6 months. Once all the costs are identified and the increment coming in is identified, that would come through a separate approval.
Okay. Can you give us a brief rundown of what the district is?
So I'll just.
Where it runs?
Yeah, so the district boundary, the reason for the continuous district, how it looks. So this portion right here, this parcel, that's the sports complex parcel right here. And so this around it was the Liberty land that wraps it. So continuous to get to here, this is the Black Hills Energy power generation facility that just received its final approval needed to start construction. So these two, this has to connect to this. The reason being is the city has been working with Black Hills Energy on this project. Black Hills Energy came forward saying we're doing this large $280 million plus project that's going to bring sales tax and property tax revenue to the city of Rapid. This is what we're doing. So it was decided this would be a great way as a funding source in the capital stack for the sports complex and other public infrastructure components that are needed with this. So Black Hills Energy has been a partner as far as its increment generation on a power generation is different from a commercial property. It's somewhat easy, to identify how much a commercial, it's built for $100,000, hopefully it appraises for $100,000. The increment is based upon 3 different factors for a power generation facility, and without the help of Black Hills Energy, we wouldn't have been able to identify that component. So there is some public infrastructure that's needed for that generation facility. This part of North Rapid is included for some water infrastructure that'll not only help the Black Hills Energy project, but commercial industrial development on Deadwood Avenue that's needed to get the water capacity needed. There is a second private development component to this, possibly that could happen within these boundaries. That's why we're waiting now for the project plan. The reason why it stretches down to downtown Rapid City would be with that second piece of that second private investment could help pay for some public improvements, recreational improvements to downtown Rapid City. So that's why it ends through here, through some property that could be developed in the future. These parcels included in here, mostly it's undeveloped. Through terrain issues, it's undevelopable. These are just included to make it contiguous. There's no real purpose in through here or in through here. If it was to develop in the future, that increment could be captured to repay back this district at a quicker rate. It's a big district in terms of size, but base valuation, it's anticipated to be assessed at just over $40 million. Just a quick slide here. This would be the sports complex, and as noted earlier, Pete Lean and Sons did donate this piece of property right here. It would just be right across 143rd from the amusement park. In that donation, there is appraisal in process, but it's estimated that land donation is worth upwards of $6 million. So that was a huge portion of the capital stack. Without that donation, it probably wouldn't have made the sports complex a possibility. But putting that base valuation into the last slide I've been showing recently. So with the current active districts and the base valuation, if Liberty Land, the destination district was to be approved, and if this district was to be approved, that would put us at a percent of taxable valuation of just over 2.0%, 2.6006%. Once again, we have 10% of that, so that would leave us just over $800 million that could be used for base valuation of future TIFs. And also, that's not accounting for, as Rapid City, if these projects were to develop and were to be approved, that's going to add to that evaluation. The evaluation is only going to increase, so that allowable amount will increase with that as well. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
There's a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Maher to approve. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Last item is Alderman item, request from Council President Maher to reconsider and potentially approve resolution number 2025-064, a resolution authorizing salary adjustments for non-union benefited employees in 2025. Consideration of this item was originally continued to the City Council's August 4th, 2025 meeting. We'll go to Councilman Maher.
Yes, I asked for this to be put on the agenda. I think on the June 2nd meeting, there was a motion to delay this until August. And then there's been a lot of discussion since and a lot of education by our HR director, Amber. And I just think that more council members have an appreciation now of why the cost of living increase was put on the agenda for July 1st. This cost of living increase was approved in the 2025 budget last September, so it's been in there forever. I'm going to make the motion. I would really like to bring this resolution back to Monday night's meeting, vote on it with the idea that we would retro that raise back to July 1st. So we have just under 300 salaried employees that would get this 3% cost of living increase. It is under what the CPI actually was because we're limited to only 3%. So I think it's important that we take care of our employees. We all know what's going on in Rapid City. For the seventh month in a row, we have the lowest unemployment in the nation. So we have a 1.8% unemployment rate in Rapid City. It's important that we take care of our city employees because they take care of us. And if we don't want city employees to be attracted to leave the city and go to other jobs. We need them to stay in their current positions. So it's only right to do this. There's other things. I know Amber has shared a lot of information with the unions and with the council about comparing the last 3 years of who got what. And again, this is the unions negotiate their salaries and contracts. And I think it's important that we take care of the city employees. And so that's why I asked for it to be brought back. Thank you.
Go to Josh Bieberdorf.
I would agree with Alderman Maher. I think it was an embarrassment that we moved this and moved it to August. So I'm extremely happy this got put on here and moved forward. I'm in full support of it. I think government is so good at pushing things out. This was budgeted in 2025. I don't know why it even was on the agenda, but I didn't vote for it to be tabled last time. I think it was an embarrassment, and I'm very happy that we're fixing this, so I'm in support of it as well.
Go to Bill Evans.
Well, to me, I think the embarrassment is some of the infighting we've got between city departments and some of the emails we've been receiving and inundated with over the last couple of weeks. They got this, I didn't get that. That I think is uncalled for, pitting people against each other. Now, I believe in cost of living increases, but I don't believe in percentage across the board increases, because a person making $200,000 a year does not need 6%. A person making $35,000 does, in order to pay for their kids' food. So I think there's going to be some changes coming over the next couple of years in terms of how we give these increases. I believe in block increases. A cost of living increase should cover increased housing, increased food, increased insurance. But what these percentages do, just like they do when you get compound interest in your bank account, in your IRA, it causes this stretching of the top end. And everybody loves that when it's building their savings account. But what it does in our salaries is it causes the top salaries to go off and spread the distance between the people that are managing and the people that are doing all the work out. And I think it's really, really destructive to the overall finances in the long run, and causes horrible inflation in terms of our budget. So this needs to be approved because we've already negotiated it. But I think there's going to be some big changes coming in how we give these raises in the future, because I don't think they go to the people that need them the most. I'm just going to say that, and I hope the city employees that listen to me understand I'm fighting for the people that need the money and need the raises the most. So I'd rather go to some kind of a block increase that actually helps you pay for your insurance, your housing, your food, not just this stretching of the salaries that happens with the 3%, because that really compounds over time. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve. Second.
There's a motion by Roseland and a second by Maher to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Get a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn by Bieberdorf. Second by Roseland. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thanks, Bill. It's good. We can't all agree.
Listen, I
It's
don't
good.
vote against you guys.
It's good to discuss it, you know.
I just don't know what we're doing.